Imagine this, you're in church service and all of a sudden someone busts open the doors in the back and they're dragging a woman to the front of the service and they throw her down on the ground. Well, that's kind of what happens here in John chapter 8. Jesus is in the temple in Jerusalem, he's teaching, and we find the religious leaders who have opposed Jesus bringing this woman, and they say, Jesus, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now, when you read that, you should immediately have some questions come in your head. Number one, if she was caught in the act, well, last time I checked, it takes two to tango in the sin of adultery. Where's the man at? It seems this is a setup. These men who are opposing Jesus, they are using her as an instrument. They don't care about her. They don't care about her soul. They don't love her. All they want to do is try to trap Jesus. And so Jesus does something that has confused a lot of people. Rather than answer them, he simply writes in the ground with his finger. In fact, you'll notice John says 2 times he took his finger and he wrote in the ground. I want to tell you what Jesus wrote in the ground. Are you ready? There's a few ideas. When I look at this here and I see this, some people say maybe he wrote the Bible verse that says, you should not commit adultery. Well, it doesn't say that. Some people say maybe he wrote the names of the men or the man who had committed adultery with the woman. It actually doesn't say that. And there's been a lot more ideas. So let me tell you what he wrote. He wrote something that the woman needed to read. That's all we know, because her life's going to be changed. And what I love about this is why John doesn't record what was written, but instead records how it was written. That's what he wants you and I to know. So remember, John's gospel is trying to show us Jesus is God. So why does he take his finger and write twice? This is an allusion back to the book of Exodus, when God gave the 10 Commandments. We read that Moses went up on Mount Sinai, and Exodus is very specific. God took his finger and wrote the law of God. Well, Moses had an anger problem. He broke the first set of commandments, so guess what God did? He wrote the law a second time. John is recording this, and Jesus did this to show he is God. He is the one who gave the law. He is the Lord. Now, one of the most misquoted verses here is the statement, well, Jesus said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Yes, he did say that, but do you see what else he said? Go and sin no more. This is not an excuse. Just because Jesus didn't sanction her stoning does not mean he was excusing her sin. Jesus condemned the sin, but not the woman. Well, the religious leaders run. They are convicted, and they leave, and it's just Jesus and the woman. And I love his beautiful offer here, his beautiful statement of peace to her soul. He doesn't have to condemn her. She was already condemned. He condemned the sin. He saved her. He did something in her heart. We can't see it on the outside, but when God works on the inside, our lives are changed forever. And then right after that, John 8:12. What does it say there? Jesus says, I am the light of the world. You see, light scatters darkness. Light helps us to see. Now, we've heard a lot of I am so far. In John 6, when Jesus walked on the water, he said, I am. In John 6, he said, I am the bread of life. In John 8 here, he says, I am the light of the world. If you're in darkness today and you come to Jesus, he is going to help you to see. And then we have one more I am at the end of the chapter. In John chapter 8, verse 58, notice Jesus says something very powerful. Before Abraham was, I am. Now, Abraham is one of the forefathers of the Jewish people. He is the great patriarch. Thousands of years earlier, he lived. And Jesus doesn't say before Abraham, I was. He says, I am. Jesus is saying, I've always existed as God. Now, you may have heard someone who's an enemy of Christianity say this, say, Jesus never said he was God in the New Testament. Well, the whole point of the New Testament is to show us Jesus is God. And you'll notice here the religious leaders knew that because what did they do? They pick up stones because they want to kill Jesus for blasphemy, because they know he is saying in this statement, he is God. I also love John 8 because Jesus says in verse 32 that the Son can make us free. If you know Jesus and you know his truth, he'll set you free, just like he did that woman who had a life of adultery, just like he did in John 4, that immoral woman, just like he did that paralyzed man in John 5, just like he did for my life, and he can do for your life. I look forward to seeing you in John chapter 9.